Hello and welcome to lesson 15 of unit 5. We're still doing volume, but this time we're going to do some volume of cylinders instead of just, cones instead of just cylinders. So the book isn't going to straight up just give you formula because it just doesn't. So I went ahead and gave you formula. For volume of a cylinder, they wrote it a little differently. This is how we wrote it last time. If that looks more familiar to you, it's the same thing. They just wrote a multiplication sign in between each thing in case people didn't understand what that meant. So I'm just writing it like the way that you'd probably see it. Okay, so pretty much the formula for a cone is the same as a cylinder, except it's 1/3 multiplied by the whole thing, and that's because if you have a cone and a cylinder and they have the same base, size, diameter, and whatever, the cone is exactly 1/3 the volume of the cylinder. And if we were in class, we would have done this experiment with like pouring water from a cylinder into a cone. Or a cone into a cylinder, but we're not going to do that now because we can't. Okay. I feel like that's the activity from last class. That is interesting. Check my teacher thing. Yeah, I don't know. We already did that. So don't worry about that. Okay, here we go. Activity 2, although I feel like this is activity 1. Our warm-up would have been pouring the water. Okay, yeah. We can't do that. Okay, sorry. It took me a minute to realize what's happening. So we're starting with activity 2. If there's something for activity 1, just put an X through it. No activity 1. Don't worry about it. Okay. So activity 2, they show you a cone, they show you a cylinder, they have the same height, they have the same base size. It wants to know which figure has a larger volume. So if we were to have done it, we would have realized that we needed 3 cones to fill 1 cylinder. That's why 1/3 volume for a cone. So for number 1, you could just say a cylinder because, and then explain what I just said. Number 2 says, do you think the volume of the smaller one is more or less than half the volume of the larger one? Explain your reasoning. Unfortunately, I already gave this away because I told you the formula. It would be a little bit less than half, right? Because it's 1/3. But I mean, you can make up your own reasoning, like 1/3, because that's how many would fit inside of a cylinder or whatever. Method for sketching a cone. So pretty much this is what they're saying. This is what you would do. First, you would draw the circle like this. Then you draw a point where you want the 2 sides to come down. And then you connect the point to the outer edges, which you could even draw little points on the outer edges. Then you draw. But drawing on this iPad is incredibly difficult, so you can do a better job. That looks like a hat from Harry Potter. Okay, sketch 2 different size cones. The cone, or the oval, doesn't have to be on the bottom. For each drawing, label the cone's radius with an R. Okay, so for this part, you're just going to go like R. That's not very good. H. Does that make sense? And what they're saying by the doesn't have to be on the bottom, that just means you could draw it this way. Like literally, that's all it means. And then same. R H. Done. Okay. Calculate that cone. Here's a cylinder and a cone. They have the same height and the same base area. What is the volume of each figure? Express your answer in terms of pi. Okay. So going back up here, volume of a cylinder, remember, is pi r squared h. So for the cylinder, that's volume equals pi r squared h. And then for the, what's the other thing called? Cone. Volume equals 1/3 of pi r squared h. So I mean, it makes more sense to find the cylinder first, because in the other one you just multiply it. Here's a cylinder with the same height and the same base area. Okay. So we don't have to worry about. Okay. So what would we do? We would say, so the height is 4, the radius is 5, because half of 10 is 5, right? So 10 divided by 2 is 5. 5 is radius. That's 5. That's 4. Okay. So 4 times 5 squared pi. I don't know why I'm writing this backwards. That's probably confusing. Okay. So 25 times 4. Think of quarters. If you have 4 quarters, you have $1. So 100. Oh, shoot. Don't forget your pi. 100 pi. You can move the pi over. Or you can keep it for it. It doesn't really matter. So that's for the cylinder. And then pretty much, since you know that this whole thing is 100 pi, you're just multiplying it by 1/3. So you're pretty much just splitting 100 into 3 parts, if that makes sense. And then you keep the pi. I believe that you keep the pi. Express your answer in terms of pi. Yeah. Okay. So then 100 split into 3 parts, which I should probably just know off the top of my head, but I, for some reason, cannot think of it right now. So I'm going to use my calculator. Oh, that's because it's a decimal. 33.3. So 33.3 pi would be the volume of your cone. Okay, I think that's all we needed for that part. Here's a cone. What is the area of the base? Express your answer in terms of pi. Okay, maybe we can write and fit it over here. Oh, and then your answers, let's write them. 100 pi, 100 pi, and 33.3 pi. So the area of the base is just pi r squared. Pi r squared equals area. So then radius is 6. So just, 6 squared, that's 36. So 36 pi, that would be your area. And then what is the volume of the cone? So remember, volume of the cone, you had to go and use that formula, which is V equals 1/3 pi r squared h. And then that becomes 1/3 pi times 36, because 6 times 6, right? And then times height, which is 8, because they give it to us right here. And you guys can do the math on that. So you do 36 times 8, and then you divide it by 3. Or multiply it by 1/3. Doesn't matter, it's the same thing. Number 3 says a cone-shaped popcorn cup has a... Okay, I'm going to erase all of this. If you needed it still, just rewind it and pause it, copy it. Okay. A cone-shaped popcorn cup has, that's a weird popcorn cup, has a radius of 5 centimeters and a height of 9. Since we're talking about a cup, I'm going to draw it this way. It's more like a snow cone than a popcorn cup, but this is what they want. It has a radius of 5. Okay, so I go draw my radius here. 5. Height of 9. 9. How many cubic centimeters of popcorn can the cup hold? Use 3.14 as an approximation of pi. So this is just, I'm going to highlight it because that's a reminder to me not to leave pi. Okay. So, and by the way, when you have your quiz, it'll probably be a question, something like this, except one maybe for cylinder and one maybe for cone. Just because that's an easy way to make sure everyone is kind of doing their own work. You have to do your own drawing. Yeah, well, it'll be pretty easy, so don't freak out about your quiz. Okay, so my formula is what? 1/3 pi r squared h. And then we start plugging things in. Radius is 5, 5 squared, height is 9. So 1/3 pi times 25 times 9. I'll just solve this one right now for you guys. 25 times 9 is 225. This 225 times pi times 1/3. So I think if you have a phone, is there pi on the phone calculator? They have cosine and tangent. They have square root. They have cubed and squared. Choose your own exponent. Doesn't have pi. Oh, it does have pi. So, actually, you know what? Let me see. What if is there a calculator on this thing? Calculator. Okay. Please let there, no, I don't want adds. Please let there be pi. Is there a pi? Okay, there's pi. So here, we can do this. But now I've already forgotten the numbers that we're doing. Okay, so 225 times pi divided by 3. So where did the calculator go? There it is. So 225 pi equals 7, that number. And then divide by 3. And I get this number. So 235.6. Okay. So this whole thing is 235.6. That's your volume. Centimeters. Just get in the habit of putting your units, because I know in high school some teachers get super picky about units, like chemistry especially, and different math classes. So it's just a good habit to get into, to start writing your units, because I had teachers that would take off ridiculous amounts of points because you didn't put the units even though your answer was correct. So anyways, it's just a good habit to get into. Okay, what's next? Oh, we're done. Sweet. You guys need to finish the math on this one. Don't forget. And I think we pretty much did all the other ones. this one you might have to finish. I think that's it. That wasn't that bad. Okay, if you need help, you can send me a message on Remind or join help session. And your quiz is on Friday, and it's going to be something about a cone and finding it's like a little, word problem thing. It'll be similar to this one, like super similar to this type of question. Similar to quiz. And it'll have you draw something and solve for, the area and the volume. And it'll, of course, ask you to, show all of your work and draw your picture and all of those things. So, okay. Hope that helps.